Welcome, degenerates, to Place Your Bets. I'm Tyler James. He's the one and only Eric Hansen. We cover Notre Dame football, recruiting, and more for InsideNDSports.com on the Rivals Network. And we love to make Notre Dame football prop bets for bragging rights. Eric, you had a field storming worthy performance last week with a 5-0 record from the Clemson game. But unlike Dabo Sweeney, I'm not willing to call this a butt kicking. Myself and the Insider Lounge, we each had a 3-2 effort. I was wrong on the Cade Klubnik snap and the number of forced turnovers by ND's defense. And I'm going to blame Dabo for that. So
Okay.
as for the season standings, you have now jumped into a tie for the lead with the Insider Lounge, and I am bringing up the rear at 25-20. But we all have pretty respectable records so far.
I was 4-11 at one point.
Yeah, you really made a comeback. I mean, maybe you're mirroring Notre Dame's season, really, right? I mean, it was down in the dumps, and now you're making a strong performance.
What I always say is don't trust the process, fix the process.
That's right, exactly. Before we get into our prop bets for Notre Dame Navy, a reminder to please hit the thumbs up on this video and comment below with your own predictions. And if you're not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Eric, are you subscribed?
I am.
All right, there we go.
Now let's get notices and everything.
All right. Now let's get into our prop bets for Notre Dame's trip to Baltimore to play against Navy. All right, first one I have for us, Eric, is who will lead Notre Dame in rushing attempts?
Well, it's one of two people. It's going to be Logan Diggs or Audric Estime. I mean, this is a game where some years you'd have somebody kind of oddball come in and get a bunch of carries at the end, and Notre Dame doesn't have that person on the roster. I doubt that they would just say, hey, Jabron Payne, you haven't played all year. Let's throw you in today. So is it going to be Audric Estime or Logan Diggs? You know, Logan's been getting a lot of carries of late. I'm going to give it to Estime in this one.
All right. Yeah. Estime has had 38 carries in the last two games. Logan Diggs has 37. That's how close it's been. There were one difference in the last game, and they both had the same amount in the previous game. So maybe that's where we'll end up again with an even amount. But I'll go the other side of that. I'll go with Logan Diggs. I think I like the way he's been running. And I think even though Audric Estime has sort of gotten over his fumbling issues, if you're going to try to trust someone late, I think I would more tend to go with Logan Diggs at this point. All right, next one. Higher number, Notre Dame wide receiver receptions or Navy completions?
Well, Ty Levitine, their previous quarterback who's out for the season with a knee injury that he suffered a couple of games ago, actually slung it around a little bit in some of their games. Xavier Arlene is not a good passer. I think he's thrown maybe attempted 5, completed 1, and got 1 intercepted. And just from previous years, he's not a very good passer either. So I think it's safe, even if Navy's behind, that Notre Dame's wide receivers are going to have more catches than Navy has completions. And I also think there's going to be, the way Navy plays defense, it's going to leave some pretty good matchup possibilities for the wide receivers. So if Drew Pine isn't hitting them, I think it's going to be on him. I think that's where the holes in their defense and Navy's defense is going to be.
All right, yeah, I will go with Notre Dame's wide receivers as well, even though that group only had 3 receptions last week against Clemson. Like you mentioned, Navy has averaged 5.2 completions per game, but obviously they're not using the same quarterback right now. Now maybe they have a secret weapon on the bench there that if they're trailing, they could bring in someone that can.
Well, Masai Maynard throws more than Xavier Arlene does, so I mean he would probably be the guy if they're behind that would throw it.
Right, but I don't think it's going to get too out of control that they're going to start throwing it around in the first half. So I'm going to go Notre Dame's wide receivers as well. All right, next one I have for us. Over under 185.5 rushing yards for Navy.
Well, Notre Dame's given up more than that once this year, and that was to Marshall. Sorry to put salt in that wound. Navy's been really odd. They haven't been above that as much as you would think. They had 2 games in the middle of the year where they really ran it. Tulsa, they had 455. SMU, they had 372. Otherwise, they've been in the high 100s or very low 200s. Notre Dame did pretty well with Navy's rushing last year. I think it was 166. I'm going to go under. I think Al Golden will have a good plan here, and Marcus's experience against Service Academy football. And I think the cut block rule change too is going to hurt Navy's rushing attack against Notre Dame. All those things I go under.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous because Notre Dame has certainly given up some long runs, and I think you can be susceptible to that at times against the triple option. But I'm going to go with the under as well. I think Notre Dame has been playing well and will continue to do that defensively against Navy this weekend. All right, next one I have for us, higher number, Notre Dame touchdowns or Navy punts.
I changed my answer when I did a little bit of research on this. As I remember, Ken Niumatalolo's pretty stubborn about punting. He likes to go for it on fourth down. And when I looked at how often Navy had punted, they punted 6 times in a couple of games, but usually it's 2 or 3. I think Notre Dame is going to have at least 4 touchdowns, so I'm going to go with the Notre Dame touchdowns.
All right. I'm copying off your test this week. I am also going with Notre Dame touchdowns. I think that they will be able to score enough. I'm thinking more like 5 touchdowns, and that Navy won't punt more than that. All right, next one. Who will lead Notre Dame in tackles?
Well, last year was Kurt Heinisch, had a monster game with 10, and nobody else was really close. And Kurt Heinisch isn't on the team anymore, so I will not say him, and I will not say his little brother Donovan because he hasn't played.
That would be pretty funny if he came out and played his first game and had a bunch of tackles.
So the 3 guys that I'm contemplating are J.D. Bertrand, Jack Kaiser, who'll be on the perimeter, and Howard Cross, because I think his quickness inside is going to cause the same kind of problems that Heinisch created. So I'm going to go with J.D. Bertrand just because he's been on fire lately.
All right. Yeah, I was leaning Bertrand, but I'm going to take a flyer on Jason Adamalola. He's played the option a few times already. I think they will have some success getting penetration, and I'm not exactly sure how many times Navy is going to be able to get outside, and that would give Jason Adamalola more opportunities to make tackles on the inside there. So I'm going to go with Jason Adamalola as a bit of a wild card there for leading Notre Dame. I think he had 4 tackles against Navy last season, so maybe he can double that and get into the lead for Notre Dame's defense. All right, next one. Will the phrase mutual respect be said on the ABC telecast?
Well, usually this game, when it's Navy's game, is on CBS. This is different that it's on ABC this year. And CBS would have said it 18 times. ABC, Dan Orlovsky's one of the people that are going to be doing the game. I don't think he's going to say it. So it's going to be up to their play-by-play announcer. I think he's eventually going to get to it. I mean, there's going to be a part where there's a lull in the game, and they're going to want people to not turn to another game. And so they're going to hang the guilt trip of mutual respect on there.
Yeah, and being so close to Veterans Day, I think there's an added angle there that maybe that's the way it comes up in the broadcast. But I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say no, and maybe they'll come up with a different phrase because they're not Navy Notre Dame series experts. All right, last one, Eric. Final score prediction for Notre Dame Navy.
I went with Notre Dame 31, Navy 13. That's probably too high for Navy and too low for Notre Dame, but I'm just giving a little cushion for, that seems odd that Notre Dame would beat Clemson by more than they would beat Navy, but I think Navy's just going to limit the possessions enough where that happens.
Yeah, and well, I mean, Notre Dame did score on defense and on special teams, so it's not like their offense exactly lit up the scoreboard against Clemson. So, but obviously Navy doesn't have as good as a defense as Clemson either. I'm going with 38-13 in favor of Notre Dame. I think they'll be able to move the ball, get some scores early, and get Navy playing from behind, and then give up 1 or 2, maybe 2 touchdowns. Maybe there's a mixed extra point in there, but I don't expect Notre Dame to struggle terribly against this Navy triple option offense. Well, all right, that's it for this week's Place Your Bets. Please subscribe to our Inside ND Sports channel for future videos. We'll be back next week with our Place Your Bets for the Boston College game and Senior Day. And, of course, we'll be back on Monday night to recap the Navy game with our Monday Night Live. And I've heard Eric's going to sing for us on Monday. I don't know what that's about, but that's what he told me.
I'm going to be on the live shows for The Voice.
All right, there we go. Well, thanks, everyone, and good luck.